Chauffeur waiting downstairs. I'm on my way to France via Switzerland because it's the end for the Jews in Germany. I think you should come with us. He had always been a bit of an eccentric, this particular brother. So when my father heard it, he says, the Meshuggah Leo, what crazy idea he has. This madman's not going to last. Things like that have happened before to the Jews. Impossible, and besides, I fought in the First World War, and we've been German for generations. We've lived here. Let's wait and see.
In July 1938, President Roosevelt convened the Evian Conference to try and solve the refugee problem in Germany. But the conference ended with no solutions. The refugees had nowhere to go.
Every country was told at the Evian Conference that they do not have to take more than their usual quota. Britain won out in that Palestine was not mentioned as a haven. Goebbels writes in his diary, they are shedding crocodile tears. They want us to do their job for them, and they really don't want the Jews as much as we don't. So the Evian Conference showed Hitler that the world didn't give a damn.
In 1938, a young Jewish man, enraged at the treatment of his parents by the Nazis, shot and killed a German diplomat in Paris. The Nazis used the incident as a pretext to orchestrate violent riots against Jews. Thousands of shops were looted and destroyed, and virtually all synagogues in Germany were burned. 91 Jews died, hundreds wounded. The police were told not to interfere. This night was called Kristallnacht, the night of the shattered glass.
When the 9th of November came along and the Nazis wanted to get into our house, the Hausmeister was a big communist before 1933. After 1933, of course, he became a big Nazi. He was standing in front of the building and in his uniform and saying, there are no Jews in this building, keep on going. And that saved us at that time.
My father was on the radio, and of course all he heard was martial music. He went out, he wasn't sure, he didn't like to see what was happening, and he decided to go into hiding.
When we got out the next few days, I saw the glass and the burning synagogues and all that. We walked over to my grandmother's house to see if they were all right. And I remember that glass, the crunching glass under my feet. And even now, more than 60 years later, I can still remember it.
And the day after Kristallnacht, my parents and I walked out of our house, and the grocery store near us was owned by a Jewish family, and the windows were shattered and had dirty Jew on it. And then we walked to the synagogue, which we attended, and as we walked by, we saw in the courtyard of the synagogue there was a mound of ashes. It was clear that these were prayer books. And sticking out of the center of the mound were the scrolls and Torah. And I remember being terrified by that because I had just learned that if the Torah was dropped in the synagogue even by accident, the whole congregation would have to fast for 40 days. And here I saw the Torahs being burned, and I know intuitively I said to myself, there's no safety for us anywhere.
All of a sudden, almost all Germans who saw our house, where can we go? Where can we find a haven? Where can we get out? Of course, the lines on all the embassies and consulates were blocks long to find a haven.
The American consulate closed their doors, and no visas were ever given out again.
You couldn't get into America, you couldn't get to England, you couldn't get to any of these places because we had no passports, we had no visas. The quota numbers were very small.
Non-Jewish people that lived in our house, one of the men was a very high officer in the German Air Force who warned my father not to stay in Europe. He says, we are going to conquer all of Europe.
And my father fortunately felt the same way. He was a peddler and arranged with 11 other people to pay someone to get him across the border to Belgium. They did make it across the border. They were picked up by the Belgian authorities who turned them back to the Gestapo and turned them over to Dachau.
One of the ways in which the Austrian Jews were encouraged to leave was to arrest the men and incarcerate them in concentration camps, and then saying, all right, the only way you are going to get your men back to these women who are left behind, the families that were left behind, the only way you can get them is if you leave within a month, 24 hours, 2 weeks, 2 months, or whatever they decided.
My father decided to come out of hiding. It seems the Christian landlord told him, don't. He went to the friend's house to pick me up, and so happened the Gestapo was in the same house. He got picked up, and he was sent to Buchenwald concentration camp.
I was picked up on the street, taken with all other Jews to Sachsenhausen. We were standing there, and the command came out, anybody below 14 and over 80 step forward. So I was 13. I stepped forward, they put us on a truck, and they sent us back home. I spent 1 day.
So all of a sudden they developed, first in Vienna, a painting that nobody dreamed of. There's a place you can go to without a visa, without papers. It was extraordinary. How could there be such a thing? It was hard to imagine. Where are you going? 8,000 miles away.
Shanghai, a sprawling port city on the east coast of China, was forced by the British to trade with the West after the Opium Wars of the 1840s. Powerful and decadent, tremendously wealthy and miserably squalid, voracious and corrupt, it became the commercial center of China. To sustain their booming trade, the West created a section of the city where Western law ruled. It was called the International Settlement. Later on, the French created their own settlement called the French Concession.
The international settlement had grown up since mid-19th century outside of the walled town of Shanghai. Shanghai was a town with walls around it, and the international settlement grew up outside of it.
They built up those ports, they built up all of them, not only Shanghai, but that was the biggest one, into a major world harbor, where the settlement created a tremendous boom.
There were two Jewish communities in Shanghai. The first